a modern interpretation of the Doom series with hints and throwbacks to the originals. Doom. Considered by many to be the original FPS which started the whole genre off, and it's back with exactly the same name as before, but with a number of influences from the current generation of shooters. You are the Doom Marine, released from the bowels of hell to beat the demons overrunning the UAC space base on Mars and stop those lured in by the demons from opening the gateway to hell. Okay, so the story isn't exactly awe-inspiring in terms of originality, but it gives you enough of a reason to carry every weapon under the sun and beat demons into a bloody pulp, and look good doing it. The fights are fast and furious, just as they should be, with a heavy emphasis on the vertical element of the arenas, as the monsters run around climbing walls and platforms to get a vantage point to pelt you with projectiles. Equally, you have the ability to climb ledges, giving you far more possibilities to navigate the terrain, and later on you gain the ability to double jump, essentially giving you the ability to get just about anywhere. In many ways the game plays out much more like Painkiller than it does Doom, as you're often working your way around a large area as various demons spawn and the next door doesn't open until you clear them all out. Fortunately, you do still get the occasional roaming creature, which is more similar to the original Doom style, and you can still get your hands on keycards, throw switches, and browse for various secrets dotted throughout each level. One of the most important aspects is that you get to carry every single weapon around with you, and they feel powerful and useful throughout the entire game. The only one that really loses effectiveness is the pistol, which only benefits from an unlimited ammo source. Each weapon also has a variety of secondary fire modes in the form of weapon mods. Most weapons have a choice of 2, and on top of this they can be leveled up through the campaign, and finally once you've fully upgraded them, you can complete a challenge to give it yet another bonus. In many ways the game almost drowns you in upgrade options and challenges to complete as you go through, as you can upgrade your suit, gain health, armor and ammo upgrades, and the multitude of weapon mod changes as already mentioned. You get weapon mods on weapon mods on weapon mods. Some of these are purely collectibles which are dotted along your path, others are hidden away in secrets, and several more are based on 3 side objectives which vary throughout the levels, requiring you to find certain items or kill monsters in a specific way. The levels are well laid out and you get to choose which direction you want to run through first, some of which link up to the areas that you're supposed to be going to, and some which you don't necessarily have to go through, but may contain extra power-ups or weaponry which will aid you on your journey. And the design of the environment is also quite stunning in places. On several occasions I found myself just watching the machinery carry out operations, or checking out the huge towering statues with blood pouring out of their mouths. This time around you can tell they've tried to put a lot more of the colour back in while still trying to keep the modern and pseudo-realistic nature of Doom 3, and it's balanced out quite nicely. It's appealing to the eyes while still being almost believable. It's nice to see a number of the classic sound effects have wormed their way back in, most notably the sounds of doors opening and closing, and similarly you can still hear tones of the old soundtrack in between the new music. But the vast majority of the sound effects and music are completely new, with a relatively metal backing track to most of the fights riddled with electronic influences which are completely fine, but they don't have the same memorable themes as the old Dooms. The multiplayer is much the same as in the various betas which happened prior to Doom's release, except there are a number of new modes which weren't previously available. Unfortunately, most of them play out exactly the same, with 2 different themes, area control or general deathmatch, and every single mode is team-based and use loadouts. It's not that they are bad modes, but by having so many with very similar goals, it doesn't really do much more than splitting the player base up into smaller groups, which will become a bigger problem over time as the multiplayer crowd moves on to the next big thing. I'm still having a fantastic amount of fun blasting players into oblivion with my trusty shotgun, and the addition of demons gives a fun new twist to deathmatch. I just wonder how long it's going to last, as several of the modes already seem to be deserted. There is also the possibility of many more modes being created over time thanks to the addition of Snap Map, which allows for both level creation and also the tools to create entire new game modes. I've done a few of the tutorials to get a grasp of it, and so far it seems incredibly easy to use, and this will hopefully allow for a lot of the modding scene which is still going strong for the original games to carry through to this. The inbuilt workshop currently doesn't seem to have a great deal of interesting stuff yet. A lot of them seem more like tech demos showing just how much different stuff you could create, ranging from Harvest Moon clones through music rooms and even demons in Pokemon style battle arenas. This is something which has a lot of potential, but until a few years down the line it's unlikely to bear much fruit, and shouldn't be considered a selling point unless you are looking for an accessible game modding tool. The game itself is pretty much stable, but I did suffer a couple of crashes to desktop with no warning message. It hasn't happened since, so the issue may have already been resolved. All in all, Doom is a solid sequel, paying homage to the originals while using a variety of more modern themes in the genre to give more options to the player and more replayability as a result. While it does feel like it's missing some of the core multiplayer modes that I was hoping would appear in the full release, the most important part is intact. It's fun. In terms of the game time, the single player is a respectable 13 hours and the multiplayer has enough unlocks to keep you coming back for a while, and in the future potentially it will have a bunch of mods worth checking out as well. It's had a fair amount of bashing in the lead up to its release, and understandably so, but I think a lot of the criticism has been listened to, resulting in a far better game. So now we wait for the sequel, but would that be Doom 2 or Doom 5? They really screwed the numbering system this time.